it's a disgrace that
Mm.
OpenAI, which started off as meant to being an open source version, has been one-upped by an actual open source version. This was what the original vision of OpenAI was.
It's the
Hence
name,
the word
right?
open. Exactly right. They
Yeah.
then became closed source. They then started stealing everyone's data, and now it's happened to them because actually one of the ways that DeepSeek was trained was
Mm.
directly on ChatGPT's responses. So essentially, the messers became the messies, as Charlie Bing once said. Yo, everyone, welcome back. Brand new Techish in the building. It is me, Michael Bahane. I'm joined with the amazing
Abadesi of Hustle Crew. Let's go.
Let's go. All right, cool. First story we got to talk about is DeepSeek. So if you've been living under a rock, you probably haven't heard of it. If you've been out and about living your life, you would have heard of it. Essentially, it is a Chinese open source AI model that seems to rival what the US companies have done, like ChatGPT and Lamar from Meta, but it seems to have done it at the fraction of the price that these models
Lord.
have been trained and built on. The number that was
Yikes.
quoted was $6 million. Some people are saying that that's not necessarily a real number. That might be a BS number. But essentially, the Chinese company which built it as a side project, and supposedly they didn't have access to the latest NVIDIA models. So NVIDIA are the company that produces the chips that enable people to train these AI models on. NVIDIA's stock has gone crazy because people think, oh my God, NVIDIA's chips are necessary for the future, which is AI.
Yeah.
But this may now cast a shadow of a doubt on a lot of theories and theses that investors have had about American tech companies, that they're going to dominate AI, that the future might be closed source. Essentially, what we have now is a cheap open source version of what US companies have been able to do. And it's changed the game. When you saw this news drop, what was your thoughts? Have you had a look at it? Have you tried it? At least
I haven't tried it yet. My default for Gen AI is ChatGPT, and failing that, Claude. So I haven't thought about it, but I thought it was such a timely reveal because we were literally talking about this on the last episode of Techish, or at least 2 weeks ago, about the TikTok ban, and ultimately, like, the Cold War for data. That's what's happening right now. Like, it's not a hot war, right? There's no missiles being launched or attacks on the ground, but there's a fight for information. There's a fight for data, because who owns the data owns the future. And I think DeepSeek is a very smart play, because if you make generative AI, open source, free for use, people of course are going to migrate to that product and be like, yeah, why am I going to pay for this stuff? Like, I'm paying for premium ChatGPT. I'm pretty sure you are. Most people I know are paying for these products. And why would I continue to pay if I can get the same value, the same service for free? So I do think there's like a geopolitical angle here that I think is missing a lot of consumers. And I think we should think about who we want to own our data. I mean, with the current US government, I'm sure a lot of people already feel like, well, there's evil everywhere. So what difference does it make? If, there are people in the US right now who feel targeted by their own government just because of their identity, just because of who they are. So they probably don't mind if a foreign entity has access to their information, because it's like, my own government isn't using my information well. I mean, have you played around with DeepSeek? Like, what are you thinking about in terms of its long-term impact?
So a few things. I haven't had a chance to play around with it. I did log in and do it that way, but my real ambition is to download it, because it's actually you can download a very small version of it onto your actual local device, and that way you won't necessarily need to either. No, but I mean, but this is the thing. When you download it onto your local device, it doesn't hit the servers in China. It's basically just completely on your local device, basically.
Right.
So
Okay.
so it's a free, permanent, on your local device LLM that you can use at any and all time, basically, versus having to like hit a server in China or hit Palo Alto or wherever ChatGPT is based. So there's that. I'm looking forward to doing that. But in terms of who are the winners and who are the movers and shakers, how does this move the chessboard? To me, and I saw a tweet about this, the people at Apple are smiling right now. Tim Cook is smiling. And let me tell you why. Apple is the one company that hasn't plowed in $100 billion or whatever into training their own model. They had a partnership with ChatGPT, but they never went in and tried to build their own model. Google has. Obviously, Microsoft is scrambling and had to partner with OpenAI. But it looks like the future will be, you will have your own private, small, open source, large language model on your device, on your iPhone.
Wow.
And that is where the world is going, basically. And Apple probably won't need to partner with an OpenAI, with a ChatGPT. These models will be everywhere, basically, and they will be cheap to produce. Eventually, they will get cheaper and cheaper to produce. So I think that is the future. I think Apple is the winner overall. That's my thesis that I agree with.
How
And
how
open
do you
source is the
think
way.
it's
And
going
then
to
the last,
affect? Yeah.
last
Go
thing,
on.
last but not least, it's a disgrace that
Mm.
OpenAI, which started off as meant to being an open source version, has been one-upped by an actual open source version. This was what the original vision of OpenAI was,
It's the
hence
name,
the word
right?
open. Exactly right. They
Yeah.
then became closed source. They then started stealing everyone's data, going on YouTube, taking video data, not being accountable to where they got the data from. They didn't care. And now it's happened to them because actually one of the ways that DeepSeek was trained was
Mm.
directly on ChatGPT's responses. So they had an API and they were hitting ChatGPT consistently and just learning from the responses of ChatGPT. So essentially, the messers became the messies, as Charlie Bing once said on Friends. So yeah, that's my theory about what's going to happen out there in the future of AI. Anything I've said that's giving you pause for thought or anything?
Well, I'm just wondering how it's going to affect OpenAI's valuation, right? Because I was just double checking. So, October last year, OpenAI raised $6.6 billion on a $157 billion valuation. Like every startup, that will soon be fundraising again. And I just wonder how this is going to play out. I mean, last I checked, Sam Altman was on a world tour trying to fundraise, hitting up Abu Dhabi, Middle East, and now that DeepSeek's on the market, like, people talk a lot about dominating market share, first mover advantage, like a lot of the moat that he had that could defend the value of the product is slowly disintegrating.
So I think for the time being, I think valuation may hold. I think they're in a situation where they are still the leaders. So it
Yeah.
looks like DeepSeek is a model that is essentially replicating what innovations OpenAI can produce, but they can do it very cheaply and very quickly. So what's happening now is I think OpenAI will still hold their valuations just because they are still the leaders. They're probably still the pioneers in terms of innovation, but that advantage is very weak and fragile, and they will be cloned very quickly. So it's not going to be this runaway where the American companies are 3 years ahead. It's going to be this thing where maybe they're 2 months ahead, and they have to maintain that pace. And I don't know if they will be able to, because I think eventually consumers and developers will say, do you know what? It's much of a muchness. They're very similar, and open source will catch up very quickly. So there's no point in investing $200 a month, which is what they're trying to charge for some of their high end products. Yeah, so that's my thought. I think they'll carry on staying strong for now, but it's Sam Altman is seeing DeepSeek in his nightmares basically, and it's not going to last for long. I don't think.
DeepSeek sounds like a submarine from a 90s action movie, like a friggin' Terminator
Yeah, it does.
spin-off, like
It does.
DeepSeek coming for you. Can we stay on the topic of AI and talk about
Yeah.
jobs for AI agents?
Oh yeah, sure. So what do you want to discuss about it? Because basically I saw
So
a job
Twitter's
posting.
been a buzz because we're seeing the first ever jobs for non-humans.
Yeah, so somebody said on Twitter, oh, I think there's going to be job posts for AI agents. Somebody was like, oh no, that already exists. And they posted a link or a clip to a job posting where somebody was like, I need an AI agent to, I can't remember what it was asking them to do, but essentially it was something like,
data.
yes, I mean, it's going to be something like data analysis, then enrich my leads or something like that. And I'll pay the agent, like, I don't know, like, I think it was like $800 or $1,000 a month, basically, right? And is that the future? Because I've been messing around with Lindy.ai, which is almost like a clone of Zapier, but basically much more AI integrated.
Okay.
Some of the agents that I was building, it was stuff like just similar to that. I've got leads in Notion. Can you enrich it? Go on the internet, find out, search on Google or Perplexity, find out about this lead. What's their LinkedIn? What's the bio of the person? What's their role title? And then when I refresh my Notion, it's there. Maybe in the past, you would have hired a junior associate or a junior analyst or, an intern to go do that. That's now gone, basically. So
I need to do that. How much is that? How much is that?
That was Lindy AI is like a normal SaaS product. It's probably like $50 a month, basically. And you can build as many of these agents as you want.
You want to do my leads research for me? Like help me build my pipeline? That's valuable.
Yeah. I hold out your boy after the show in it because we can talk in it. You can hire my agents for $3,000 a month, and I'm joking.
Okay.
Well, basically, is this the future now where like it's almost feeling like a death by 1,000 cuts? It feels like the responsibility and job opportunities for people is not slowly dwindling, but you can just see on the horizon where it's like it's getting harder and harder to deliver value as a human that cannot be delivered by a person. I don't know. Am I being too pessimistic? How do you feel about it?
You are not being pessimistic. Do you know what?
Okay.
This is what scares me. And I've just mentioned this on the podcast before. And I feel like there needs to be more discourse around this topic. You can see on my bookshelf behind me a copy of Thomas Piketty Capital. And the main argument in that book is that the gap between like the richest and the poorest is always accelerating and widening because those who already have capital are like growing their wealth at an exponential rate to the people with no to little capital, and it's a gap that can never close. And he's actually got a new book out that I saw when I was in the bookshop the other day. I haven't had a chance to read it, But when I think about the argument that's made there by what probably one of the most prominent economists living today, and then I think about what's happening with AI, the first thing I thought about when I saw AI agents was not even like in our more like developed Western economies, who's going to lose out. I was thinking about like how it affects globalization, because if I think of global South countries where people have outsourced a lot of this work through websites like Upwork or Fiverr, or just through third-party agencies hiring, VAs in the Philippines or in Nigeria. Now, if AI agents can do it for a fraction of the price for people in the global South who are already doing it for a fraction of the price, compared to people in the more developed economies, how is that going to slow down globalization or distribution of wealth, in the global South? So that was actually the first thing that I thought of. And why I felt really sad about it and frustrated by it was the people in positions of power, authority, wealth, again, in the US, the UK, these sort of like big global economies that are already very digital, where like tech industries thrive, digital services thrive, software thrives. The CEOs of these companies, they already have a lot of money, right? Like they're already in the top 1%. And now they're like squeezing out more profits by leveraging the latest technology. And all of these notions of like trickle down economics and la 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 just seem increasingly nonsense. Because people at the top don't push money down. If anything, they squeeze the money, stretch their money in ways that people who don't have access to power and money can't. So I see AI agents as a way to make people who are already rich a lot richer. And ultimately, there's an opportunity cost to others who could access that capital. Who is going to provide the AI agent that does that job? A lot of these people are probably going to end up in these convoluted circles where they're actually like hiring products they've made themselves and somehow making themselves richer by employing, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, man. It's just depressing.
Yeah, it is. I think what you said is completely true. Wages have been flat for a very long time, and this definitely won't help. Business owners will take advantage. I'll be honest, I've looked into this and I've been like quite pleased with what I've seen as a business owner. I'm like, wow, this is quite, I'm not replacing
any capitalist.
But I'm not replacing. The thing is, the way it's kind of insidious is you don't really replace people. You don't fire people based on this type of stuff. But what happens is your need to hire newer people basically rescinds. You're like, what? I don't really need to hire another kind of VA, or I don't need to hire another intern. I could just use these AI agents. And right now, it's not perfect, but it's good enough, basically. And that is where I feel like, especially younger folks are really struggling getting their foot into the door. Like the younger junior software engineer market is completely cooked. They're complete, they're struggling right now. A lot of people are struggling to break in because of what you can do now with Cursor, with Replit. You don't necessarily need these entry-level software engineers. On a less depressing note, our boy Kendrick sweep the Grammys. I've got to say one thing is that
yes,
what has Drake done to people? What I really, really want to know, what I really, really want to know is that this man clearly. No, I don't think they do. I really don't think they do. I feel like this is an example of when you've won for 15 years, you've built up a lot of enemies and a lot of animosity.
Wow.
I'm not denying that Kendrick has legitimate reasons not to like Drake. I'm sure they have things. And I think what he says in that song speaks something where he's like, this guy is a culture vulture. And I think that's a legitimate interpretation of what Drake has done over the years. But what I will say is the people who are in the crowd, like the Taylor Swifts, maybe they're just like, this is a bop, this is a tune, I just like the song. But when you've got a crowd of people singing A minor about you, you must have done something, bro. You must be a very unlikable winner. You must have stepped on a lot of people's toes. I'm going to be honest with you, because that's a downfall that I have never, ever seen at the pinnacle of the music world, the Grammys.
Yeah.
And everyone is just singing, you are a pedophile, you are a nonce, basically. And they can't wait to... Wow. This
Maybe
is a
he
downfall
stepped
I've
on
never
a lot
seen.
of toes. I don't know.
I think he did. He must have.
The thing is, right, I actually want to now look up Drake's streaming numbers, because as this could also be like a generational thing, right? Like, I think the young people, they like Drake, like, because I mean, again, I'm just trying to offer an alternative perspective here. Isn't he one of the like top 10 most streamed artists of all time? Like,
he is,
musically,
he is, yeah,
he
is.
Okay, cool. So
I'm sure
in terms
he is.
of like, okay, wait, literally number 2. This guy has had 82, I don't even know, trillion, 82, whatever the number is, million streams. He's number 2 after Taylor Swift, according to this article, January 2025, top 10 most streamed artists of all time on Spotify as of 2025. So there's also a bit of a like disparity, right? Because on the one hand, people are like jiving to like this diss track, but they're obviously still playing Hotline Bling. and like passion
Are
fruit and
they?
whatever else when they get home. How else is he the most streamed? Or is this like a generational thing? Like 30 somethings and above are like,
I
eh,
think I
Kendrick.
think
And then
I
all
think
the
I
teen
think
20s are like, whatever, Drake.
I
You know
think
what I mean?
there's hardcore
Something's
fans.
not adding up.
There's hardcore Drake fans. There are places that probably stream his music, restaurants, bars, because of how pop culture, how
Yeah.
much he's infiltrated pop culture and stuff like that. But do I think there is a cohort of people that are like turned off to him a little bit? I think so. I mean, he's going to be fine. He's going to be completely fine as an artist.
Yeah,
But I'm just
exactly.
saying, it must hurt when
Mm.
your peers are all basically dancing on your grave to a certain extent, and a song. And not only that, like Drake basically proved the theory true that he's an outsider in the sense that he sued a record label about a diss track. Like that is the most
Yeah,
un-hip hop
yeah.
thing you've ever heard of in your life. Like,
Yeah.
and it's crazy. And I think I need to double check, but I think the lawsuit is either been settled or he's dropped it. Basically, it's no longer carrying on.
Oh,
Um,
Drizzy.
but like in the Grammy Awards, Lucian Grange, who is the CEO of Universal Music Group, which is the entity that Drake was suing, who he is also signed to, by the way, high five Dr. Dre when Kendrick Lamar's song won. He went to Dre and high fived him.
Mm.
Like that's a level of all of your ops are celebrating and cheering that I can't even imagine. Where it's like, yo, the guy that I sued is high fiving Dr. Dre about the fact that the song is number one, and I also work for this guy. Oh my lord.
Yeah.
Anyways,
But that's
Drake.
such a broken system, right? Like, don't hate the player, hate the game. Like, you know, it's weird to also like bite the hand that feeds you, right? Because if it's true that labels like suppress other artists to help more popular tracks continue on that momentum of popularity, doesn't it stand to reason that over the last 15, 20 years of Drake's career, they would have done the same to benefit Drake at the expense of
100%.
other artists? Do you know what I mean?
100%
That's
they
why
did.
the whole. So I was like, why are you not? It's like, you know, he
But do
who
you know
lives
what
by
his
the sword
argument was?
dies by the sword. You're living in this toxic industry where everyone is just a pawn in a game, and now that you're the pawn that's losing, you're sad. You're throwing your toys out the pram. Come on now.
His argument was this: he was negotiating a deal with UMG, Universal Music Group. The last deal that he negotiated with them, obviously, it was very, very lucrative. His argument was that they are purposely inflating this Kendrick song in order to damage him, so that he has less leverage in this negotiation. So he cannot walk away with 300, 400 million. They're going to be like, well, you're damaged goods. You know, right now you're not super hot. That was his theory. He could not prove that theory because there's never going to be a smoking gun of an email saying, let's get Drake and let's you're not going to be able to prove that whatsoever, right? So there was no way he had
Yeah.
any legs. But could I
House
believe
always
that that
wins,
was the case?
baby. House
The
always
house always
wins.
wins. The house always wins. And the thing about Drake, and this is, I think, his damn fault as well, yeah? I'm sorry, bruv. All these guys that are worth like 100 million, 200 million, why are you guys not independent? You don't need a record label anymore, but you just want the upfront money. You want the upfront money. You want the guaranteed 200, 300 million. Well, okay, then serve your masters. If you want them to be your boss, serve your masters. There you go. All right, cool.
Last thing I'll say is,
all right, go on,
do you
carry on,
think
sorry.
it's about artistic art? Do you think it's about artistic integrity? Like, do you think people are like jamming to Kendrick because they just feel artist to artist, right? Because there are people who make things even when their label says, I don't want you to make that, and there are people who don't. Like,
right.
And I just wonder, like, do you think there's an element of like artistic integrity where people are just like, Kendrick isn't making art for the numbers. Kendrick is making art for the people, or like for the message that he thinks is important. Like, he's not trying to, of course he's playing the game, like in a way you have to, but as in he's doing it on his terms, in his way, and he just feels more authentic, and that just gives people more affinity towards him, at least, you know, amongst the artists you said, versus Drake, who just seems to lack that level of artistic integrity.
I think so. I think there's always been this idea that Kendrick obviously is a more substantive artist. The music he makes resonates with the culture more. And the song works on multiple levels because not only is Kendrick saying that about himself, he's also saying that Drake is an outsider. And people who have, you know, loved hip hop for years have always kind of felt that about him. So he's, you know, it's perfect. It's a perfect, you know, summary of why Kendrick is different to Drake. Drake is not like us. He's a colonizer. He's not really part of this thing. He's not.
I'd still have them both on the show. I'd have them both on the show. Let's talk it out, guys. Let's talk it out. We'll mediate. I'm
going to be like, Drake, why are you texting the 13-year-old girl from Stranger Things? That's what I'm going to say. Love the music, bro, but why are you doing that? Like, what's going on here? Like,
he's a fan.
But I don't know. It looks terrible. But the other thing I'm going to say, you know, for years, people have said to me, how do I break into VC? I'm like, I don't really know. I'm not a VC, but now I'm a VC scout. Somebody's at that time. That was what I used to say for years. Then I'll be like, okay, now last year I've been a VC scout. So maybe you could ask me that question. I'll have a different answer for you. You might be like, yeah, you know, you got to start a company or become a scout. Now I might say, choke out a mentally ill black man to death, and you may now get a job at one of the most prominent venture capital firms in the world. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, the news was announced on the Free Press, which is like this, outlet started by Barry Weiss, that Silicon Valley venture firm Andreessen Horowitz has hired Daniel Penny, the former Marine who made national headlines following the killing of Jordan Neely, a 30-year-old homeless black man on the New York subway. He was acquitted of negligent homicide in December 2023, I believe. But the news now has come out that A16Z, one of their partners, has said, we like this guy, we like what he stands for, and we're going to give him a job. He don't know nothing about investment. He don't know nothing about venture, but we like him. Essentially, what we've got here is a DEI hire for somebody who was involved in a situation where, as far as I'm concerned, the court of law may have said that you are innocent or not guilty, but to me, there's a cloud hanging over you because I'm not sure that what you did was justified. I believe that you choked out this man longer and harder than necessary, but I wasn't there. But what I will say is, why is this man being given opportunities that countless others, black and brown women, black and brown men, young people who've been trying to break in for years, been given? Because he choked out a homeless man. Like, what's going on? Like, this is disgusting. Honestly, this actually sickens me. I don't know this guy. Maybe he's a great guy and this was all an accident and he tried his best and you couldn't help it and whatever. But why is he being given these opportunities? I don't understand.
You do. Why are you saying you don't understand? You know why.
I do understand. You're right. I do understand. But what I'm trying to say, but I think there's a part of me. I've got to be honest. It's like there's a part of me that doesn't want to accept the world that we have. I'm still trying to believe that there's something here to save in this world. So when I see stuff like this, I'm shaken out of my delusion and I'm like, wow.
Yeah, exactly.
So apologies for saying I don't understand. It's just a common parlance that I use. But yeah, like we know what time it is.
We are living in the Twilight Zone. We're living in the Twilight Zone. We've got apartheid sympathizers building teams of teenagers to access all the treasury data in one of the world's largest economies and populations. We've got, here's the thing though, right? Because we've talked about this on the podcast before, and allegedly A16Z, I don't know, man. They've done some dodgy stuff. Like the crypto space is a lot of question marks around their angling and maneuvers in crypto.
Dodgy.
Again, allegedly. But there was a time where I held them in extremely high regard, extremely high esteem in terms of their thought leadership. And then I think during the pandemic, my opinion shifted. It's undeniable they've supported some of the greatest products that, I know and love. But I think like many actors playing a high stakes game, they probably have also had to do things which I might not necessarily condone, accept, agree with, or even call ethical. And yeah, when I saw this news break, I was extremely disappointed, but I was also just feeling for the family of Jordan Neely, who is gone. And I was feeling for so many families who have been failed by the justice system, who've been failed by the healthcare systems, who've been failed by so many other systems in America. And it's this weird, dystopian fairy tale to see Daniel Penny access an extremely competitive job because, what even put him on their radar in the first place? I don't know, just so many question marks. The case, but yeah,
he was on. I guess the case was very high profile. He went to court. Some people even argued that it shouldn't have even gone to court. He was obviously acquitted. So this is a story that I feel like taps into what a lot of people fantasize about, which is that I will be the person who saves people or whatever the hell. But as far as I'm aware in the story, nobody was in immediate danger. This guy wasn't wielding a weapon or a gun and threatening to shoot people. He was just very loud and intimidating people. And maybe he was threatening people. I'm not saying that this was a person who shouldn't have been restrained, but this is a very, it's just a dark story. It's not something that somebody should be coming out of. It's a dark story. It's not something that where somebody should be walking into a high profile venture capital position that is so sought after, where there are so many countless talented people striving to get these roles and who are being told, some of them being told that, yo, if we hired you, it would be a DEI hire. But this guy can get it? This guy?
But is it a way for them to get press, to get attention? Is it a way, how Mark Zuckerberg came out being we need to see more masculine energy because he's, puffing out his little feathers and showing the world that he's a big boy. with his big boy pants on. And I'm just wondering, is this another signal? Is this another move? Is this another, under this new age of Trump and anti-woke and white supremacy, and there's only two genders that we will accept because this is America. Like, is this a signal to the world? Like, yeah, if you want to know which side of the fence we are on, let it be known that we are on the side of the fence where if you want to exercise your rights to kill a man, and you do, and you get away with it, you're on our team, you're on our side. Like, I think lines are being drawn in this bizarre reality that we exist in now. And these moves are signals, are acts, are demonstrations of where people are showing their allegiances and alliances. That's what I think it is. I think it's a signal, it's a message. It's like when during Black Lives Matter, it's like Coinbase were like, yes, I see some startups supporting BLM, this, that, and the other. We don't want you to talk about that. And if you don't like that, get out. Like, I just think people are drawing lines in the sand. And I think that's what A16Z are doing. They're like, let it be known, make no mistake. These are the kind of people we are. It's like that Maya Angelou saying, when people show you who they are, believe them the first time. So do you know what, Andreessen Horowitz? I see you. I believe you.
Do you know who's on the board at Founders Fund, who they just hired?
Do I want to know?
Yeah, it's George Zimmerman. No, I'm joking. That's basically what's happened now, isn't it? Kyle Rittenhouse has been their first investment is Kyle Rittenhouse.
Stop.
You know what I'm saying?
Stop.
Yeah, all right, cool. I'm sorry to make light of it, but it's just that's how preposterous this whole scenario is.
Well, do you know who's president? The guy that hosted The Apprentice.
Guy who hosted The Apprentice, a guy that was convicted of crimes that I'm afraid to even say that he did in case he sues me, because that's what happened in America recently, where somebody...
That Esther ain't getting approved, bro. That Esther ain't getting approved.
Yeah, probably not. What are you going to do, eh? Anyways, cool. Last but not least, actually, just circle back to the Grammys. What did you make of Kanye and Bianca and her butt naked appearance on the red carpet? Like,
where is her family?
Is that artistic? Or do you think she's being abused?
Where are her loved ones? I mean, it's so difficult. It's so difficult to unpack. Yeah. I think because we know that Ye is quite an unstable character. I mean, by his own admission, he's been open about his mental health and stuff like that. And of course, Amber Rose did not have a good experience when she was in a relationship with him, and she was very open about that. I think because there's a bit of history in terms of his behavior in relationships, allegedly. I think people are concerned. I think it's also because she just never looks happy, just on a basic level of nonverbal communication. People be naked. When J-Lo wore that plunging green Versace dress, she was looking all sexy, looking all fly. Everyone was like, oh, she's so cute. But I just feel like Bianca never looks happy. That's why people are also just concerned. Are you okay? She wasn't smiling. She wasn't whatever. So I just think that's why people are really worried. But I also think it says so much about the objectification of women's bodies and the weaponization of shame around that women have to feel ashamed for having boobs, hips, or whatever. And it's 2025 and we still allow ourselves to be shocked by women exposing their skin. We need to be naked more because we really need to move on from this. Our ancestors didn't even have clothes. I wasn't expecting that angle.
But the thing is, but hold on.
Nudity is still shocking. Come on.
Yeah, but come on. If Kanye West came out,
there are countries where no one would bat an eye. There are countries where people wouldn't even bat an eye. Okay, go.
I got to push back on this, because you're right. Nudity is natural. Whatever, I've been to nude beaches. I've seen how people get down. I'm not nude, but
I know how you roll.
All right. No, you don't know how I roll. Don't do that to me. What I was gonna say is that what I was gonna say with this Kanye thing is that it's not like Kanye. If Kanye was there with his penis swinging, and just there himself too butt naked, I would be like, all right, cool. You don't want to be naked. God bless you. You want to be Adam and Eve, whatever. But it's this weird way in which Kanye, who's a self-professed porn addict, it's so voyeuristic. The way he displays her, to me, is strange. I mean, from what I've read and seen, supposedly, she is not, a prisoner in this relationship. She basically is she loves the guy, and she doesn't seem to have any issues with it. Maybe 10 years down the line, she'll say. But to me, it's just strange. That's all I would say. Because it's one thing to say, okay, it's good to show skin, but it's obviously a dynamic where she has to show skin. And he has to display her to the world of
so what you're saying is, and he's if Kanye was also naked, it would be fine.
Kanye, don't do that, please. Everyone just put your clothes on. Come on, guys. I don't need to see everything. Can
like
we have mystery? Can we have mystery? Where's the mystery gone in life? Can we just have
that's
mystery?
long
Like,
gone. That's long gone.
oh man.
I
All
just
right,
feel
cool.
like we as the audience did not consent to participate in whatever sex game was being created on that red
Exactly.
carpet. That's what I don't
it
like
feels
about
like.
it. I feel dirty.
Yeah,
So yeah.
I agree. You know what? Last but not least, if anyone's seen the Hawk Tour go, let us know if she's okay. She's disappeared 8 weeks ago after doing a rug pull on her coin, and she hasn't released a single podcast episode ever since. That's probably something we'll talk about in a future episode. But she's disappeared, and she's Hawk Toured away to the money. Out to her. But like, yeah, let's wrap up there. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review. We're on YouTube at Techish Pod on Instagram, and subscribe on YouTube. We've almost got 2K subscribers. We've been growing on there, so come join us.
Woo!
And we will catch you next week.
Also, before you go, please check out my Kickstarter for International Women's
link
Day.
in the show notes.
I've got a play. It's called The First Woke War. It's about the backlash to DEI. It takes place in the AI startup. It's a great story, and I'm hoping to take it to more places than just London, but help us bring the London show this March to life. So check out link in the show notes, tinyurl.com/Abadesi Kickstarter. Donate now. Thank you.
Perfect.